Up the sides of the mighty fjords that reach up into the heavens lies a domain brimming with the essence of lightning and ice. The people of Aria named this fantastical realm Aenion, the armory of ancients and the trading grounds of champions. I grew up in Volthaven, a village that drifted slowly as it navigated the treacherous skies of Aenion. My childhood was spent in a wide-eyed wonder under the soft embrace of the aurora, as I marveled at the majestic sights that lay beyond my windows. As I grew, I fell in love with the sense of freedom found in the environment all around me, resolved to explore its beauty and secrets by becoming the greatest wayfarer in all of Wraith. Daring, talented, and quick on my feet, I soon became the darling of Volthaven, a most renowned adventurer recognized throughout the 1,000 Isles of Aenion. During this time of change, as the Old One's influence seeps into Aria once more, mysterious vaults have appeared all over Aenion as the element run wild throughout the region. It is up to my friends and I to delve deep into the mysteries lying at the heart of Aenion. We must rediscover the secrets of the Third Age and the legacy of the Defenders and the Ancients, before it's too late.
Today we will be looking at Lexi Livewire. If you don't know the fundamentals and general game mechanics, I strongly suggest watching the Learn to Play guide by LSS. Link will be in the description. Lexi was first introduced in the Flesh and Blood set Tales of Aria back in September 2021. Let's start by having a look at her hero ability. Firstly, Lexi has Essence of Ice and Lightning. This means you may have Ice and Lightning cards in your deck. Also, it says, once per turn action, turn a face down card in your arsenal face up. If it's a lightning card, your next attack this turn gains go again. If it's an ice card, create a frostbite token under target hero's control. Go again. Deciding which card you place in arsenal will depend on your game plan, but also your opponent's game plan. Placing a lightning card will provide you the opportunity to give an attack go again, whilst the ice card can disrupt your opponent by giving them the dreaded frostbite token. But what is this frostbite token, you say? The frostbite token says, cards and activated abilities you control cost an additional resource. At the beginning of your end phase, or when you play or activate an ability, destroy frostbite. For each frostbite an opponent controls, they must pay an additional resource when playing a card or activating an ability. This includes, but is not limited to, hero, weapon, equipment, and item abilities. If the additional resource cost is paid when a card is played, or the opponent passes their turn, all frostbite tokens they control are destroyed. As you journey with Lexi, you will have access to the Ranger, Ice, Lightning, Elemental, and Generic card pool. To keep this guide as simple as possible, I will mainly focus on cards from the Tales of Aria set, with some exceptions. Lexi has many weapons to choose from, but today we will cover two. Firstly, Lexi's signature weapon is Shiver. This two-hand bow weapon can only be wielded by elemental rangers such as Lexi. It mentions, once per turn instant, for one resource, you may put an arrow card from your hand face up into an empty arsenal zone you control. If you do, choose one. It gains +1 attack power until the end of turn, or it gains Dominate until the end of turn. You will notice that this weapon doesn't attack, but instead interacts with your arrows and arsenal. Most of Ranger's attack actions are arrows. It is important to note that arrows can only be played from arsenal and only if you control a bow. So think of your arsenal as your weapon. When you load an arrow into your arsenal using your bow, Shiver lets you choose either +1 attack power or Dominate. The Dominate effect means your opponent can only defend the attack with a single card from hand. This includes playing defense reactions from hand. Note, your opponent can still block with available equipment, as well as play defense reactions from their arsenal. The second elemental ranger weapon and most widely used with Lexi is Voltaire's Strike Twice. It mentions, Twice per turn instant. For 1 resource, you may put an arrow card from your hand face up into an empty arsenal zone you control. If you do, choose 1. It gains +1 attack power until the end of turn, or it gains Go Again until the end of turn. Similar to Shiver, but its name says strike twice, and can apply Go Again to an arrow instead of Dominate. I will demonstrate some examples using both Shiver and Voltaire in the gameplay. Let's have a look at some budget equipment that can be used with this hero. From the Arcane Rising set, we have the Bullseye Bracers. It says, Action. Destroy Bullseye's Bracers. If you have no cards in your arsenal, you may put an arrow card from your hand face up into your arsenal. It gains +1 attack power until end of turn. Go Again. Knowing how important our arsenal is in Lexi makes this card extremely valuable. Secondly, this equipment has built-in Arcane Barrier 1. This will be extremely useful against heroes that deals arcane damage such as wizards, illusionists, and runeblades. Next we have the Ranger head equipment Honing Hood. Not used as much, but not a bad budget option. It says, Instant. Destroy Honing Hood. Return all cards in your arsenal to your hand, then put a card from your hand face down into your arsenal. The last one I will cover is a generic common equipment. I typically don't add these, but this piece of equipment is typically the main one used in the leg slot. Snapdragon Scalers from Welcome to Wraith set says, Attack Reaction. Destroy Snapdragon Scalers. Target attack action card would cost 1 resource or less, gains Go Again. This one is great if you need to gain Go Again. Just be mindful that you can only target an attack action card would cost 1 or less. Lexi will function quite differently depending on the essence in your deck. Essence of Ice mainly focus on disruption, whilst Lightning will go wide with low resource cost attack actions. Everything is hard work when you're frozen to the bone. Lexi uses Arya's elemental ice energy to make everything harder for her opponents. She uses ice to disrupt their defenses and slow down the enemy's offensive plans by sapping their resources with frostbites. Let's have a look at some examples of ice cards that Lexi can use. Winter's Bite. Target hero discards a card unless they pay 1 resource. Go Again. Simple, but this can force your opponent to lose a card from hand. Polar Blast. Target opposing hero must pay 3 resources in red, 2 in yellow, and 1 in blue. If they don't, your next attack this turn gains Dominate. If Polar Blast is played from Arsenal, draw a card. Go Again. This one can be quite punishing if your opponent decides not to pay the cost, especially if paired with a crippling on-hit effect. If it's played from Arsenal, it also draws you a card. As quick as lightning and hot to the touch, Lexi draws upon Arya's elemental lightning energy for speed in combat and that extra shock factor on impact. Let's now look at some lightning cards. Lightning Surge. If Lightning Surge is played from Arsenal, it gains Go Again. By itself, it's a 4 attack power in a red pitch, 2 defense at no cost. But if it's played from Arsenal, it gains Go Again. The instant Lightning Press is next. Target attack action card would cost 1 or less, gains +3 attack power in red, and 1 less for each other color pitch. Last one we will look at is Electrify. The next time an attack action card hits a hero this turn, it deals 3 damage in red, 2 in yellow, and 1 in blue pitch. If Electrified is played from Arsenal, draw a card. Go Again. This non-attack action card can be quite powerful if played before a string of attacks, as it threatens extra damage on any attack action card that hits this turn. It is especially potent if it is played from Arsenal, as it draws you a card as well. Next, we have Elemental Ranger cards that utilizes the fusion mechanic. Let's look at the action arrow attack, Chilling Ice Vein. Ice Fusion. As an additional cost to play Chilling Ice Vein, you may reveal an ice card from your hand. If Chilling Ice Vein was fused, whenever an attack deals damage to a hero this turn, they discard a card unless they pay 1 resource. So this means when you play a card with fusion, you may reveal a card from your hand to gain the additional effect. For example, let's pretend we have a Winter's Bite in hand. We reveal it when we play Chilling Ice Vein. which means if it hits and any other attack deals damage this turn, the opponent must discard a card or pay the resource costs. This can be extremely crushing if you can string multiple attacks. Do note that if you opt not to fuse Chilling Ice Vein, it will only threaten physical damage. Dazzling Crescendo will be the Lightning Fuse example today. Lightning Fusion. If Dazzling Crescendo was fused, it gains Go Again. This is a great example of a low-cost Go White Lightning plan. Fuse the zero-cost arrow attack and keep going. Some cards will require multiple fusions, such as Ice Storm, meaning both Ice and Lightning cards must be revealed to activate this powerful non-attack Elemental Ranger action. Other non-attack actions will provide you with a choice of fusions for different effects, meaning one or the other or even both, like on the card Flash Freeze. Let's have a look at this one. Flash Freeze, Ice and or Lightning Fusion. If Flash Freeze was fused with an Ice card, attacks you control this turn gains. When you attack with this, it gains Dominate, unless the defending hero pays 2 resources. If it's fused with Lightning, attacks you control this turn gains. If this hits a hero, deal 3 damage to them, Go Again. If you opt to fuse with both Lightning and Ice on this one, you gain both effects. There are many great fusion cards, but we can only cover a few, but make sure to go check them out. To be a Wayfarer of Volthaven, one must make peace with the essence of lightning and ice that permeates Aeneon. Now a young woman, Lexi ventures near and far with her mentors, the best, most skilled wayfarers of all of Aria. She felt the constant coat of frost upon her hood, and arcs of static brushing upon her skin, and an incredible sense of freedom as she embraced the vastness in this land above the clouds. Pulse of Volthaven, the legendary instant card, says, your next ice, lightning, or elemental attack this turn gains 4 attack power. What makes this card special? It's its type. As a lightning ice instant, this card can be used to fuse lightning and or ice. Some cards called auras will present powerful bonuses and can be quite impactful if you can manage to keep them in play for several turns. Channel Lake Frigid, one of Lexi's most notable cards, says, Go Again. Cards and activated abilities cost opposing heroes an additional resource. You think that Frostbite is oppressing? Well, with this aura, your opponent will be forced to pay an extra resource on all cards and activated abilities whilst Channel Lake Frigid is under your control. The second part of this card is important to understand, as this is how we get to keep this aura to stick around for a few turns. Channel Ice. At the beginning of your end phase, put a flow counter on Channel Lake Frigid, then destroy it unless you put an ice card from your pitch zone on the bottom of your deck for each flow counter on it. We will go over this when we look at gameplay. Let's now have a look at some notable Ranger staples. Endless Arrow from the Arcane Rising set says, if Endless Arrow hits, put it into your hand. This one can represent a string of attacks all on its own. If this one hits, it bounces right back in your hand. Feeling lucky? 3 of a Kind, also from Arcane Rising, is another amazing Ranger staple. Draw 3 cards. Until the end of turn, you may only play cards from your arsenal. Go Again. This can be game-changing, but do note that once you play this non-attack action card, all cards you play must be played from arsenal. This one can be tricky, and we will have a look at an example in the gameplay. Rain Razors is a simple one. At instant speed, you can give all arrows +2 power while attacking this turn. You can sometimes catch your opponent off guard with this one. The last one uses the reload mechanic. Reload is a ranger mechanic that allows you to put a card from your hand face down into your arsenal, but if you have no cards in your arsenal. Bolden Shot is one that does use the reload mechanic. If Bolden Shot attack power is greater than its base attack power, it has Go Again, and if it hits, reload. This arrow really has great synergy with your bow, as it can give it +1 attack power. All heroes have specific specialization cards that can only be played in their respective hero deck. For Lexi, we have Light It Up. By itself, it attacks for 4. And if lighted up deals damage to a hero equal to or greater than the number of equipment they control lose and can gain activated abilities until the end of their next turn. This can be quite crippling for certain heroes, but if lighted up was fused, it also gains if this hits a hero, deal 1 damage to them for each equipment they control. This could mean an extra 4 damage or even 5. Pretty sweet. If you are considering playing Lexi, you will have access to higher quality equipment. There are a few options here, so I will only cover a few. New Horizons, the Legendary Ranger head equipment will most definitely change the way you play Lexi. It says, while you have a face-up card in your arsenal, you have an additional arsenal zone. 2 arsenal spots? Sign me up! Very important note, if you defend with New Horizon, being a blade break equipment, when the combat chain closes, if this defended, New Horizon will be destroyed, but will also destroy all cards in your arsenal. Not played as much, but still an interesting one, is Heart of Ice. By paying 1 resource, you can disrupt your opponent on your turn. This can be useful against defense reactions and wizards. It also has Arcane Barrier 1 and Blade Break, making this one pretty versatile. Lastly, we have Purge Grapplers. By pitching 2 resources, destroy Purge Grapplers. Until end of turn, face-up arrow cards played from Arsenal gains go again. This one also has Blade Break 2. Just a quick disclaimer, many heroes benefit from using generic legendary equipment, and Lexi is no exception as she uses Vyandel Spring Tunics quite regularly, but I will not be including this one today. Since New Horizon drastically changes the way we play Lexi, I will use 2 examples using the budget option Honing Hood and 2 with New Horizon. Alright, let's have a look at a few possible hands, only utilizing the equipment introduced today. For this example, let's do a simple fusion. Your 4 cards are Winter's Bite Blue, Chilling Ice Vein Red, Bolton Shot Yellow, and Polar Blast Blue. Firstly, let's use Shivers once per turn instant, placing an arrow face up in our arsenal, pitching the blue Winter's Bite. Our arrow here will be Bolton Shot Yellow, choosing +1 power. By giving Bolton Shot +1, it will gain go again, and if it hits, you get to reload a second arrow. Let's pretend our opponent decides not to block this attack. Bolton Shot will now be able to reload. With our reload, let's place Chilling Ice Vein in Arsenal. Then we play Chilling Ice Vein using one of our floating resources from before. We then reveal Polar Blast, fusing Chilling Ice Vein. This now gains whenever an attack deals damage to a hero this turn, they discard a card unless they pay 1 resource. Our opponent will now have to decide to either lose a card by blocking, or discarding, or paying the cost. We will now end our turn and place Polar Blast in Arsenal, since it also benefits from being played from Arsenal. For our second example, let's ramp up the difficulty here. Our example here will be utilizing equipment and our arrow lighted up. We will continue from our last hand with the Polar Blast in Arsenal. Your 4 cards are Lightning Surge Red, Electrify Red, Lightning Press Red, and Light It Up. Since we don't really have a lot of resources to work with, let's use our Honing Hood to return the blue Polar Blast to hand and place the red Electrified in Arsenal face down. Then we will activate Lexi's hero ability to reveal the red Electrify, which will give our next attack action card go again because Electrified is a lightning card. Let's now play the red Electrify, pitching the blue Polar Blast. Since Electrify was in Arsenal, we get to draw a card. Let's say this one will be Dazzling Crescendo Red. Now that our arsenal is empty, we can pay 1 to load an arrow by activating Shiver. Let's load Light It Up. When Light It Up enters the arsenal face up, we can choose +1 attack power or Dominate. Let's give it Dominate to make it harder to block. Let's now play the arrow Light It Up with Dominate, paying with our remaining resource. We will fuse this one by revealing the Lightning Surge. We want to avoid revealing the lightning press here, as it might help us to get over our opponent's blocks. Let's say they are trying to block the 4 physical damage here by using a card from hand that blocks for 3 and an iron rod equipment. Let's pretend our opponent doesn't have any cards in arsenal. So this means that they do not have a defense reaction in arsenal to respond to the dominated attack here. To make sure that this one hits, let's play our instant lightning press to add +3 attack power to our Light It Up. Light It Up will now come in for a total of 14 damage. Now let's break down where all this damage is coming from. 7 from the card's physical damage plus lightning press, 3 additional damage from the electrify on hit effect, and let's say our opponent is controlling 4 equipment, noting that the one used to block is still under their control. A further 4 damage is dealt from the fusion. To top this, our opponent only blocked 4 of our 14 damage here, so the damage dealt is equal or greater than the number of equipment they control. So that means their equipment lose and can't gain activated abilities until the end of the next turn. Since we can't activate Shiver again this turn, let's use Bullseye's Bracers to put Dazzling Crescendo face up into our arsenal, giving it +1 attack power. Now let's play Dazzling Crescendo, fusing it again with our Lightning Surge. This will give it go again. Lastly, let's play the attack action card Lightning Surge at no cost. Pretty explosive turn here. Our third example, let's have a look at Voltaire, Strike Twice, and New Horizon. This one will be more of a setup turn with some disruption. Your 4 cards are Channel Lake Frigid, Icy Encounters Blue, Searing Shot Red, and Winter's Bite Blue. Firstly, let's play out Channel Lake Frigid by pitching Icy Encounter Blue. With this in the arena under your control, cards and activated abilities cost your opponent an additional 1 resource. Then, with our remaining resource, we will activate Voltaire to place Searing Shot face up in Arsenal. We will give it +1 attack power since a mode is required to be selected even if we are not shooting the arrow. Now at the beginning of our end phase, we need to look at our Channel Lake Frigid. We need to put a flow counter on Channel Lake Frigid, then it mentions, destroy it unless you put an ice card from your pitch zone on the bottom of your deck for each flow counter on it. Looking at our pitch zone, we did pitch the ice attack action card Icy Encounter. We'll then place this card at the bottom of our deck to satisfy the Channel Lake Frigid criteria, meaning we get to keep this aura on the board. We will then end our turn and place the Winter's Bite in Arsenal. Last line we will look at 3 of a kind. We will continue from our previous turn. Your 4 cards are 3 of a kind, Endless Arrow, Polar Blast Blue, and Chilling Ice Vein Blue. Let's start by activating Lexi's hero ability, revealing the Winter's Bite. Since this is a nice action card, it will give our opponent a Frostbite. Then let's play the Winter's Bite. Our opponent needs to decide if they want to pay 1 resource or discard a card. Let's say they pay the 1 resource by pitching a blue card. They will still have 2 floating resources. Then let's play 3 of a kind, pitching the blue Polar Blast. From this point forward, we can only play cards out of our arsenal. The cards we draw here will be Chilling Ice Vein Red, Dazzling Crescendo Blue, and Winter's Bite Blue. We will use the first Voltaire activation, paying with 1 of our floating resources to load Chilling Ice Vein, giving it go again. Then let's shoot Chilling Ice Vein, using the remaining resource and fuse with Winter's Bite. On hit, opponent must pay 1 or discard. This effect is now applied to all attacks this turn. Our opponent decides to take the damage and use 1 of their floating resources to pay the cost for Chilling Ice Vein. Let's activate Voltaire a second time, pitching our blue Dazzling Crescendo to load Endless Arrow, giving it go again. Shoot Endless Arrow at no cost, and if it hits, it will come back to our hand, and they must pay 1 or discard from the Chilling Ice Vein. Opponent here decides to fully block this attack and avoid all card effects. Now let's shoot Searing Shot, a card not mentioned earlier, but has a pretty simple functionality. If this hits, they lose an extra life. Remember, the effect from the fused Chilling Icebane is still active here. Let's say our opponent decides to block this with the remaining cards from hand. At the beginning of our end phase, we place a second flow counter on Channel Lake Frigid. Since we do not have 2 ice cards in our pitch zone, we then destroy Channel Lake Frigid. Then we place Winter's Bite in Arsenal. To conclude, Lexi likes to mess with the enemy and keep them on their toes, strike like lightning, and put the freeze on the opponent's best laid plans. This was Jackie for the Fab Workshop. See you next time, and thanks for watching.